All right, James and Justin here, your favorite spiritual analysts on all things culturally relevant. And every now and then, the universe throws you a bone. You're flipping through TikTok, or you're watching something on Spotify or YouTube, and you find these clips that you think are really good, and you can do like a video on. So basically, I saw Bernie Sanders, who was on Joe Rogan recently, and they were kind of talking about some of the systemic problems that are wrong in the United States, which I think are relevant for a lot of countries across the world, including Canada, which we're from. And then I saw another TikTok video of a guy kind of like ranting about the like from a millennial's perspective
what
on
we
like
need to do,
how they're going to deal with it. You know, it's a little rough around the edges, but I thought it was entertaining, and I thought it could make for some good conversation. So
okay.
Anyway, won't keep you guys waiting. Let's get into it.
Not all that much.
Have you prepared for this?
I am all prepared.
Well, it's a good time for you to be in here because the world's gone haywire.
Yes.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
I think I start off with Joe trying to take a deep breath and doing what is not often done. Where are we as a country today? What's going well? What's not going well? And I don't think we don't have that kind of basic discussion. And to my mind, I think in America today we're facing more serious crises than we have in the modern history of our country. This is a pivotal moment in American history, and what happens now will determine the lives of our kids and future generations.
What specifically concerns you?
I'll tell you what concerns me, the issue of wealth and power. All right, I'm kind of old-fashioned, and I believe in democracy. And I believe that everybody should have a good shot at living a decent life. And what I worry about right now, and this is an issue, Joe, and it's part of the problem, that it just ain't talked about very much. And I applaud, by the way, you and the other podcasters who give people the time to really seriously discuss things rather than 7-second sound bites, you know. But if you take a look at where we are as a nation today, the system is not working. It's broken. It ain't working for ordinary human beings. So you have in America today where we have more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had in the history of this country. That's just a fact. You have one man, Mr. Musk, owning more wealth than the bottom 52% of American families. One man, 52% of the American families. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 93%. You got CEOs of large corporations making 350 times what their workers make. And meanwhile, in this richest country in the history of the world, working class people are getting decimated. Today, and again, we don't talk about it in Congress for reasons that I hope I can get into.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it in the corporate media. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, I grew up in a family. I don't know your background, but I grew up in a family, lived paycheck to paycheck. And anyone who lives paycheck to paycheck understands that every single day is a struggle. You know, you got to figure out how you feed the kids, rents, cost of housing in America off the charts, healthcare off the charts. So right now, as we talk, there are people worrying. My landlord, is going to raise my rent by 20%. What the hell do I do? Where do I go? What schools do my kid go to? How do I buy decent food for my kids? My mother is ill. How do I afford prescription drugs for my mother? My car breaks down, so if you have money, no one thinks of it. Your car breaks down, go to the mechanic, you get it fixed. You know what? A lot of people don't have $1,000 in the bank right now. If you don't have $1,000, your car breaks down, how do you get to work? If you don't get to work, you get fired. If you get fired, your whole life is disrupted. 60% of American...
How much different is that than past generations?
We've always had rich and poor, no question about it. It's worse now, Joe.
What do you attribute that to?
I attribute it to decades-old attacks on the working class of this country. I attribute it to horrific trade agreements which have allowed corporate America to throw millions of workers out on the street and move to China, Mexico, and other low-wage countries. I attribute it to a corrupt political system in which billionaires have significant control over both political parties. So that, for example, right now in Washington, the national minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. So you got millions of workers today, making 10, 12, 13 bucks an hour. You tell me, how do people survive on 13 bucks an hour? When we were kids, or at least when I was a kid, you worked for a large company. You had something called a defined benefit pension plan. That means you work for me for 30 years. When you retire, you're going to get X hundreds of dollars a week. That's long gone. Corporations have gotten rid of that. So you got something like half of older workers in America have nothing in the bank when they face retirement. So I think, to answer your question, I think you got a rigged system controlled economically and politically by very, very wealthy and powerful people who could care less for working families.
You're going to lead the way.
Okay. So, do you, just between you and me and everyone, do you think Canada is, like, there's similar issues in Canada?
Yes.
Similar issues. Do we know people that vary in wealth and status? Do we know people?
Yep.
So do we know some people that are, by all accounts successful, and we know people that are, by all accounts, like, in society's eyes, not successful? We do know that range.
Yeah.
So what I regard is this. Some of the people I know that are successful, and this is going to hurt, are smart. I respect their intelligence. And they figured it out. They know how to be successful. Are they content? In my opinion, no. They're not content. Doesn't matter that they're above the people around them financially and sometimes even in health and in wisdom. It doesn't matter. They're still grumbling about wanting more. Joe alluded to something. He says, has it always been this case? You bet your ass it's always been this case, that there's always been rich and poor. And what have the sages and mystics always done? And maybe you're not interested in sages and mystics, but this show's called Stay Spiritual.
Yeah.
So the sages and mystics, since the beginning, go off on their own and they live a very simple life. Monasteries and convents and stuff like that have existed since we can probably remember, where they avoid the trappings of life.
Yeah.
So this becomes a problem in this way. Some of the people I know people that have more than me. They have more things. They've got more materialist trappings than me, and they seem to be uncontent with it. They want more. Yeah. And the system, I agree. I would feel the same way if I was doing my darndest to play the materialism game, which is a capitalistic game. If I was being impeded by, like, fancy bureaucracy, or not fancy, just basic bureaucracy, like I'm being taxed. The more money I make, the more I'm taxed. I still have more than everybody, but what the hell? With the amount of work I put in, I should be emperor.
Yeah.
Well, there are always people that see through it since the dawn of time and are like, this is how man organizes himself. He always organizes himself with a 1%er at the top, king, and then all the people that, like, depending on how savvy you are, you could be a knight, you might be a duke or something. You know what I mean? And then there's the poor people. Can't do it, can't catch a break. And the way you rationalize that, it's like, there's almost nothing I could say to get you to rationalize it differently. You're always going to be, people are very, unless something switches, they have a quantum leap and real spiritual wisdom falls upon them like a dove. They're locked into some rationalizing thing that makes them bitter and angry and toiling. And then you get exploited. It feeds back into the capitalistic system. Those same things that make you discontented are what they hook you with.
Yeah.
So talk of things getting worse, and it's never even been this bad. It's never been this bad. Since when? When we were, like, literally had, like, just thinking up ways to torture people? Oh, let's make an Iron Maiden and crush this guy to death with spikes. Yeah. Or let's spread mustard gas over this area. I'm not saying there's less or more horror. I'm just saying horror seems consistent with humanity. Yeah. And unfair divides of spoils is, like, our story.
Yeah.
So what is this guy who says, I want peace? My deepest prayer is world peace. Who gives a shit what I want? I don't know the reality of things, and there's somebody else out there that could crush me with an argument about why brutal aggression is necessary. And a man steps in and he spreads his seed across the earth, and then the weak perish. But there is, whether you like it or not, the alternative side that literally spins it and says, well, the weak things overtake the strong, and the foolish things devour the wise in the end. It takes a kind of wisdom that's just not for everybody. But you're always got the invitation. You can always say yes, but it'll be a mystical quantum leap that actually gets you to go, oh, I see through it. I see through it. I don't see it. I don't understand all the things. I just see right through all of it.
Yeah. Nice perspective. Thanks for sharing your views on that. I come from it from more of an observational, like I see the system, what's going on, and I see it in cycles. I agree with you. I don't think that, like, would you trade this time for what? Tell me what other time you're going to trade. Even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have your cell phones. You wouldn't have all.
I wouldn't
the stuff.
go a year ago.
You wouldn't have the things that you have today. Doesn't mean that we can't work to make it better. Doesn't mean that there's not problems in the system that he's pointing out. And I'm hoping that maybe on the show even that we can, maybe even do some AI videos, some creative aspects of like steps we can take. Because the more we talk about it, the more we work on it, we can build better. We can make these things better, which I see as like, unless a meteor hits the planet, that is kind of what we have done. We've moved out of the Middle Ages. We've moved out of like world wars and stuff like that, even though we still have wars and things happen on the planet. We are evolving. I do see progression. I do see things as getting better. And yeah, I think we've hit a hump in the road where a lot of our systems have collapsed. A lot of corruption has got in. A lot of things have taken over, which need fixing. I think if you want to listen, this is just a clip, by the way, if you're wondering. We're not going to watch the whole thing. But you can go back, watch this. I'll leave a link for this. Watch the whole thing. And then, again, this interview, there was a lot of complaining on, but there's also a lot of people thinking of ideas and steps that they can take. And at the end of the day, I think collectively, this is something that we allow. As bad as it is, the majority of the people aren't the people on top, aren't the kings and the princes. We like put our effort and our money into these establishments that build these things up. So there are ways to address it. There's people coming up with just thinking about ideas about how they're going to address this. And so, yeah, we got this clip here we're going to take a look at. It's called Middle of the Road Sanity.
Middle Road Sanity.
Yeah, Middle Road Sanity. And the guy's just talking about millennials, their place in all of this, and what they think about it.
I wanted to say one tiny thing.
Yes.
One tiny thing, because you said, you mentioned steps there. And, it is one thing to kind of ramble on and on and on. But, it's nice to have some steps. Well, Justin's steps, I only got 2. And they're actionable steps, okay? And it's not for everybody. Not everything's for everybody. The same advice that you give a warrior isn't the same advice you give a freaking sage. And so for those that want to be Neo, those that want to like transcend the whole thing, and by the way, you'll reincarnate sometimes as Neo, and sometimes you'll reincarnate as a brutal, vicious warrior, and sometimes you'll reincarnate as a king. Doesn't matter. We need all perspectives here. But for the sages that seek to be transcend it all, see through it all, get to commune with God in ways that other people do not, the steps are real simple. These 2 steps are the only 2 that come to mind, and that must mean that they're the most important. 1, be honest. Just start getting radically honest with yourself and others. Tell on yourself honesty. Self-destruct honesty. Like, this is going to cost me everything, but I'm going to say it anyway. It'll appear as foolishness until they come find you for your deep wisdom. Because it'll cost you everything, because the logic is the father of lies, and logic runs this realm. But ridiculous honesty, you'll lose everything, and then you'll gain life eternal. You'll gain life eternal and wisdom. And then bravery. Just couple that honesty with bravery, because it's going to take bravery. You're going to have to cultivate it out of nothing. You're going to have to all of a sudden be willing to face the dragon. And then with honesty, and that means the most important, maybe even more important than the honesty you tell others, is the honesty within yourself to go, holy shit, I'm this, and I'm that. And I got parts of me that I don't even like, other parts of me don't like. Yeah. Divided. I'm schizo, I'm this, I'm that. And then you see right through whatever sanity is, you see right through whatever society tells you it is. You don't just because somebody's saying something, you look deeper than that, and you're like, okay, what you're saying is just one aspect of what you're saying. It's not the entire package. And you can see more clearly.
All right, let's take a look at this clip, and then we'll talk about it right after.
Millennials are going to be the hero generation. Have you heard about this? There was a book that came out in the 90s, I think it's Bill Strauss was the name, talked about the cycles of repeating history that society goes through. And because of the way everything times out, millennials are supposed to be the one generation to guide society through a very tumultuous time, a very big turning point in society. I just watched a lady do a video on this, and she was like, well, where are the millennials? They all seem crashed out, burned out, and they don't want to participate. And she goes on to say, well, they are looking at crumbling institutions and a lifetime of unprecedented events. Sure, but let me weigh in on this. As a 1985 make and model of the Millennial Generation, I feel like I need to tell y'all, we were always meant to unplug it. We're not going to be the heroes that saved the previous iteration and bring back some like golden era that the boomers remember. No, man, we were always meant to unplug it. Because yes, there's the trope that boomers don't want to relinquish control, they're not retiring, they're not stepping down from positions. That's true, that's accurate. And there's also the other one where one income got to bring in all of the monies. One person works, one person stays at home, raises the kids. And not only that, it paid all the bills. You had a car and a camper, and you got to go on vacations with the fam, pensions and 401ks, a gold watch on your retirement. Yeah, that's part of our frustration too, because it's not like that for us. But we're the lazy ones. Go to college, they said. Yeah, I know a ton of millennials who graduated with degrees who were actually using them. Sure. I'll put it like this. I was 14 when I saw The Matrix. And I know some people cringe at The Matrix. Go away. I was a changed kid when I walked out of that movie theater, because this whole question reality, anti-establishment, like it's everywhere now. You see it on the internet and your phone, and you see it in video games and Netflix specials and movies and all that. It's everywhere. But The Matrix was a cultural phenomenon because like you didn't see media like that a whole lot back then in 1999. It's always been about unplugging the system. Always. And I feel like the boomers knew it, which is why they never wanted to give us any of the control. And I know Gen X is feeling left out by this, and whatever, guys. You had your punk rock, cigarettes, anarchy, and skateboards and shit, and then you largely went into tech, sequestered off all the executive positions and left nothing but entry-level positions for the fucking millennials to pick up. Super punk rock of you. It's like the millennials have been waiting at this arcade machine. You remember arcade machines? And the boomers have been there jamming quarters in for decades. And we're in the back of the line like, God damn, this game looks sweet, dude. Like, I want to play. Hey, is it our turn yet? Oh, no, I still have quarters. Almost, though. Almost. It's still my turn. It's still my turn. And then the Gen Xers turn around and they're like, bro, we've been waiting forever, dude. Like, and by the time they're done, it's going to be our turn. So you're going to have to, like, wait a while. We're just going to go play a different game. We don't want that game. Y'all can be obsessed with your little fucking game, because here's the real point of the video. If you've made it 3 minutes, I appreciate you. I love you. I know these rants can be a little long sometimes. What happens to a boomer when they stop working? Pop quiz. What happens to a boomer when they stop working? I know millennials who got to inherit the family business, right? And mom and dad are still up their ass. Mom's still in the office every day, checking the financials, doing that. Dad's still out on the job site every single fucking day, because they don't know what to do with their life if they're not working. 60 to 65, 70, 72, 75 years of your life, 8 to 10 hours a day, for what? And hell, at least the boomers had incentives. A camper sounds nice. Parking it down by the river with my daughter, skipping stones, roasting hot dogs over a campfire. It sounds fucking awesome. Almost awesome enough to get me to trade fucking 7 decades of my life for that. Almost. We hate your system. You lied to us about everything. And maybe it wasn't a lie, maybe they were just false promises, but none of them panned out. Social Security? Nah, probably not. Retirement? No. 401k? No. Pension? No. Gold watch? No. Did college work out? No. Oh, just wait a little bit longer and the interest rates will come down. The housing market will self-correct. No. Private equity, billionaire, fucking boomer-run institutions are buying up everything, and there's nothing left. No, we're not gonna lead you through the fourth turning back to something reminiscent of that. Fuck no. We're gonna unplug that fucking dusty-ass IBM computer that the boomers are so fucking proud of, and we're putting it in the attic where it belongs. That's always been our duty. That's the fourth turning. We're gonna get y'all to stop. And think about it. Think about my channel. What am I asking y'all to do? Turn it off. There's so many things wrong with this system. Like, I don't think that we were ever meant to fix it. We were meant to get you to stop playing it. And the boomers knew it. That's why they are never letting the millennials sit at the wheels of power. The boomers are going to go to work until they're 103, and they're still going to be excited about work on Monday for some reason, because they know you hand it to a millennial, we're shutting it down. immediately, and we're rebuilding from the ground up with a more modern sense. We're going to let the old world die, and people like me still have reverence for tradition. I do. I'm not as wild as some people out here, because trust me, there's a lot of disgruntled millennials out here, and I'm way less radicalized than them. I still love certain elements of tradition, classic tradition in society, things we've been doing for thousands of years here in human civilization, okay? I'm not gonna burn it all down, but I'm ready to clear the underbrush. For sure, we're ready to do a little pruning. Yeah, which is why the boomers don't want to give us the hedge clippers, because we're ready. Oh God, we're ready. So there's your hero. Here's your hero. Here's an older millennial hero for you. And I'm not fixing a fucking thing in your institution that broke and lied to so many millions of people for decades. No, we're not doing that. I'm gonna turn it off.
So there you have it. Middle Road Sanity. You can go check him out. I'll leave a link in the description box if you want to see more of his content. I just found that interesting. Nothing like a good rant. Every now there's a lot of bad rants out there on the internet, but every now and then you hear something that gets you thinking, and you're like, oh, fascinating. Me, I am the youngest Gen Xer and oldest millennial there is, because I was born in 1980.
What's
right
after
on that,
millennial? What's the next one?
Gen Z?
Z?
Gen Z,
Okay.
I think. But yeah, we live in this world, and I think a lot of people my age and younger feel similar about it. But I think he brings up a good point about like unplugging. If you don't like certain aspects of the system, you unplug those parts, right? Which, for those who are controlling and dependent upon those systems, that might scare them. I don't think they need to be scared, especially the boomers. A lot of people give the boomers a hard time, but they're going through their karma and getting, the things, that they put their hard work into and getting the results of them. As, millennials will be, and Gen X will all be getting their karma, as they, reap and they sow the things that they've put into their lives. But I think he brings up a good point, and I think it'll happen subtly, these changes over time. It won't be like dramatic. It's not going to be like everyone's just quitting their jobs tomorrow, although that could happen, I guess. But I think it's more like unplugging from the things that we see, capitalism, cutting off subscriptions and not opting for the ultra fancy vehicle, and not, putting your money into certain aspects that, I think that's how we will start to see some of these changes come about in terms of our systems. And you might find that we see things get refined down to smaller, more commune-like systems where not such large entities control things anymore, where it might get, turned into a more refined, smaller knit thing so that money can be tracked. It's not as corruptible, which allows for, more people to access healthcare and things like that. But that's my say on it. That's...
I'm scanning for biases. I'm scanning for the tendency to want to see something reflected that you already think or feel. Like, first of all, this guy here, I kind of like him, and I can tell that in real life we would not get along, but I like him. Somebody said to me once on the phone, the person that I have a relationship that I talk to that's a distance away, and they said, why do we get along so well? And I said, because we don't live near each other. Reality's different. The people you live near, all of a sudden, there's always a little bit of competition. That's what I said. We're no threat to each other. So I can really like this guy and appreciate him because he's no threat to me. But in real life, I'm a blabbermouth, and we would be talking over each other and maybe so excited to agree with each other that it would get hostile. Mm. I just know these patterns that repeat. People like that, like me and this guy, got to live in different things, speaking to our own audiences. But it's great to host him. He said so many interesting, cool things. I didn't see this before I came over, and he mentioned the Matrix. Remember the first thing I said? Only if you want to be a Neo.
Yeah.
And so that gives an opportunity to highlight the people that want to be Neo, that were profoundly impacted by the Matrix. I want to highlight something here. I feel like I know Gen Zers that are boomers. They're like, dude, you're 20, 30 something. Why are you a boomer? And they're like, Hank Hill. They're like Hank Hill from King of the Hill. They're just naturally that way. I'm like, these things just like spontaneously emerge in reality. Like dudes that are born, like we live in the countryside. There are guys born farmers. Yeah. They're like 12 and they're already like, why you behave like a man? Why are you wearing Dickies and Carhartt? Like, you know what I mean? Like dressed like a man. Like I'm just in a hurry to settle down and have a wife. You're 14. You know what I mean? Whereas you didn't go through any kind of like a rebellious phase, and they're totally a real thing. Like by their nature, they're that way. If the society crumbled, they'd be like standing up for those type of values. So I don't know if I believe in a hero generation or I believe this and that. I think that there's types of people, and this guy's a thinker. He's a type of thinker. You know, but there's people by their nature, you know, otherwise why would Christ have said stuff like, you're of your father, the devil? And by the way, we need the fucking devil. It's all through the Bible. The devil comes before God. They talk. But the question is, if you're heading for supreme knowledge, if you really are ready to be brave like this man and unplug, then you better be ready to do it alone. It ain't a group activity. There ain't no group activity here. Some of the group activities, the most historical group activities are always like, a lot of times they're kind of horrific in hindsight. You know, but the thing you do on your own is always going to only come down to your own justification. If you want to unplug. Again, like I said earlier, I know successful fucking people. I know them. And you don't even need to know them. You can go online, thank God for the internet, plug right into that bitch. Because you can find successful rich people that give you all the shit you want fucking complaining. Yeah. They're complaining. They're like, it's not enough. It's not good enough. Anthony Bourdain was like world loved, overcame addiction and still ended himself. You know, and I don't want to speak too much on that. I'm just saying that even those that have sometimes live secret, tragic lives. You got to decide for yourself what matters to you. And the thing that matters most to you, the answer of all answers, probably ain't going to be shareable. You're probably just going to have to like be brave and be like, well, I was born alone and I'll die alone. You know what I mean? Like I came into this world, my own thing. And when I go out of this thing, I got to face that on my own. I got to face the great beyond. You coming with me? You want to die with me? Let's do a murder-death pact. No, you got to die on your own. So you got to live on your own. And that's what I'm starting to realize. My whole message on this thing is to get people, because, I mean, it's only humane that I share that knowledge that would lead people towards their own revelations, whatever it is. There's a lot of things and I'll wrap it up with this. Yeah. There's a lot of things I'm grateful I'm not, that I would easily demonize. I would go, that's bad, that's horrible. And I'm so glad we have laws, unified laws that we tend to agree with, that like stop people from being murderous, evil people. I'm grateful for that aspect of society and law. But I'll say this, even if I was the things that I'm not, perpetrate of evil things, I would own what I was. Now that's a dangerous message. It's like, you are you. Only you really know why you care about what you care about, or what you are jealous of, or what you hate, or what you love. It will never boil down to what you can convince someone you are. It'll always boil down to what you actually are. So I say revel in it, whatever that is, and love it and embrace it, because you didn't even pick it. It was given to you. Whatever that means. I hope that was profound and deep. I hope that made sense.
All right, we'll end it here. That was a long one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone till next time.
Stay spiritual.